We begin in Kenya, where President Bola Tinubu has joined other AU leaders and heads of regional economic community at the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of the AU. The president arrived Nairobi on Saturday to participate in this meeting, where he will present a report on the status of regional integration in ECOWAS, highlight actions carried out during the period under review by ECOWAS institutions, member states, the private sector, and other stakeholders to deepen integration through trade, free movement of persons, investment promotion, infrastructure development, peace, security, and stability. This 5th mid-year coordination meeting, which is convened under the AU's theme for 2023, is tagged Acceleration of African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation, and it is made up of the Bureau of the AU Assembly, comprising the heads of state and governments from Comoros, Botswana, Burundi, and Senegal, as well as the leaders of the 8 regional economic communities. In an earlier event on Saturday delivered on behalf of President Tinubu by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the President called on African leaders to respect democracy, rule of law, and ensure political stability.
This high-level UNDP-AU side event, in partnership with Chatham House, will present a report on military coups and the need for democratic renewal in Africa. But it is a beautiful coincidence for the African Union as President Bola Tinubu's inaugural speech as ECOWAS chairman resonates strongly on the continent of Africa. The regional program coordinator for Africa in the UNDP also agrees that President Tinubu's leadership of ECOWAS may spur the much-needed democratic renewal on the continent.
There's really a clear coincidence between what the President of Nigeria, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, mentioned in his speech on the 9th of July and the content of our report. A coincidence because he did emphasize the zero tolerance of military coups. And I think this is what we should continue to invest in. But for us to ensure that we experience long-term stability and democracy on the African continent, there's a need to revisit how democracy serves the people.
In some parts of Africa, military coup d'etats seems to be fashionable, especially when citizens yearn for inclusion, shared prosperity, and change. West Africa alone has witnessed 6 successful military coups since 2020 and 3 unsuccessful attempts. This military interregnum now makes West Africa and the Sahel the coup belt of the continent.
Over the last few years, our continent has experienced a sharp increase in the number of unconstitutional changes of government in Africa, which is a major setback in our efforts to advance democratization, stability, and sustainable development.
The Gambia has learned a lot from military coups, which significantly retarded the political trajectory of my country. Our collective explorations of the challenges to the sustenance of good governance is a way only to honor the memory of the victims subjected to the evils of despotism, but also to fulfill our responsibilities to protect and uphold fundamental human rights.
The Permanent Secretary in Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs represented President Bola Tinubu at this high-level event to launch the report on soldiers and citizens. He reiterated President Bola Tinubu's desire to rid the continent of military coups and strengthen democracy.
This ugly trend has only succeeded in threatening the peace, security, and stability of the sub-region, and by extension, the African continent. Living in its trail, poverty, internally displaced persons, and humanitarian crisis. In the same vein, this ugly trend has also led to food shortages and escalated health challenges.
The report, however, made some recommendations, which includes strengthening continental and regional response mechanism to military coups and build long-term resilience by addressing structural and institutional drivers of coup. The advocacy is for countries in Africa to embrace inclusive, representative, and participatory governance because so far, economic sanctions, political isolation, and condemnations of military takeovers has not stopped the trend. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Nairobi, Kenya.